Huh. Maybe you should. What's going on, guys? Guess what time it is? It's 8:51, but really, the real actual time is Q&A time. How's everybody doing? Forrest here, Cyclid909. Been getting a ton of questions on my cyclid909@gmail.com account, and I've been doing a terrible job in filming videos to keep up with your awesome questions. So, probably going to film a couple tonight so that we can get some awesome Q&As up to you guys. Got Azul and Blondie here in the background because I know you guys don't care about looking at me. It's about the fish. So, if you got any questions for myself or anybody else who might hack my email, cyclid909@gmail.com. Link is in the description below. Like I've said before, it does not have to be fish related, but it does have to be a question. That is the only requirement. The more ridiculous, the more I'm likely to say it on video. So, let's get going with question numero uno from Jeffrey Cheney. Any relation? You're not there. Just talking to a camera. Sometimes you forget that. You said before you need to get more tanks. How would you put more tanks in your fish room? It looks like it's already filled with tanks. By the way, great videos. Thank you, Jeffrey. I've watched all of them. Really? Except some of the beginning ones. Okay, there we go. Thanks for the question, Jeffrey. I do have some plans within my brain stems of revamping the fish room completely and adding a few more tanks, probably 4 to 6 more tanks. Bring me up around 10 to maybe a little bit more. But if I were to do that and add more tanks, I'm not going to add any more tanks unless I do a fish room revamp, which would mean movement of things and new racks and consolidation of areas. And my plan is that any new tanks that I get will be built by yours truly. I don't think I'm going to be buying any tanks anymore, with the exception of the materials required. But, I've got some things working in my brain, possibly adding a rack with the rotation of some tanks and building some DIY tanks, of course, to share with everybody out there. But, can't tell you guys all my secrets, right? But, there's some things going up in my brain. Next question from Zach Lau. Hey, what's up? I'm from Hong Kong, very cool, and love watching your videos and your fish. Here in Hong Kong, there's a lot of fish here for an incredibly cheap price, where there's not a big selection of cichlids. Anyways, I was wondering what happened to your dovie and where did you get your dovie from? Thanks from Zach. Thank you for the question, and pretty cool here that I'm talking to somebody from Hong Kong. What's up from America? My dovie, Mongo, actually went to a good buddy of mine, Trace. Catch22TCH is his YouTube handle. I'll actually put it in the link description below. I'm not sure if he has him. He might. A friend of his might have him. Trace, if you're down there in the comments, let me know. Yeah, shipped him over to Idaho. He made it okay. I don't have him anymore. Dovie or something I'd love to keep eventually. Got my dovie from a fish store up in Seattle-ish, Burien really, Washington. Was bred by what was the largest dovie in captivity. I believe has passed away at a remarkable 27 inches from Mel. Any of you guys have seen any of Mel's videos? A lot of you guys out there who watch YouTube probably seen Mel's videos. But yeah, that's where I got him from. And thank you, Zach, for the question. I very much appreciate it. Next question is from my buddy TJ. If you guys didn't know, TJ is where I got Mr. Spike from. as well as my Gorilla's Black Fry. So thank you, buddy. And let's get this. What up? What up, TJ? How are things? How are things going? TJ is actually pretty local to me. Got some randoms questions for you. It says randoms questions. It's making me question this already. Alright, number one, who's going to play wide receiver for Carolina? Next week, I have a tryout. Trying to work on my 40 time. I don't think I'd be the greatest replacement for Steve Smith. They don't need a wideout. They got Cam Newton. And what they just need to do in Carolina is they need to start developing plays so that what they do is they snap the ball to Cam. He throws it really high in the air, runs around a few times, knocks a couple guys over. The dude's like 6'5", 240, right? Easy, right? And just throws it to himself and scores touchdowns. The more Cam Newton has the ball in his hands, meaning the less receivers and the less running backs your team has when you've got a Cam Newton, the better off you're going to be. You know, why take the hands out of what is, in my opinion, an athlete in the similar caliber like a LeBron, where he's just one of those guys who's just got that extra level of athletic ability, natural athletic ability. Cam Newton gets out of bed and has more athletic ability than 90% of athletes out there, which sucks for the guys who work so hard for years and years and years who can't even scratch the surface on what guys like that do. The key with guys like Cam Newton is to take that, and he kind of showed a little bit last year, and actually do something with it, because it's kind of a waste to see a guy like that with so much natural talent. And what gets missed with Cam Newton is how well that guy actually can throw a football. He has got a cannon of an arm. When you watch him play, he can put some zip on a football. If he can figure this whole being a quarterback slash athlete and not an athlete slash quarterback, watch out, NFL, because Cam Newton is going to hit it hard. Hopefully that answers your questions about wide receivers. Just give Cam the ball. Jessica Alba or Jessica Biel? I'm going to say Michael Jordan. Definitely. One-on-one, either way. He's going to take them both down. Definitely Michael Jordan. Yeah. And number 3, this one's about fish. Why did you stop keeping Bean-Eye? I think you need to try again. I think I need to try again as well. I need to get some more space in my fish room. I need to get some more water holding fish. Especially now with Southern Delight Foods. Stop keeping Bean-Eye. I just got lazy with them, and with Bean-Eye you cannot get lazy. You've got to stay on top of them all the time, because any this and that and this and that, and they get sick and die. But getting Bean-Eye back in my fish room, back in my possession, and growing up some beasts is definitely in the plans, in the works. Not really in the works, but something I want to do. In the slightest regret a little bit, getting lazy with them. Probably wasn't the smartest decision on my part, but bleep happens, right? Thanks for the questions, TJ. Peace out. Go Niners. I'm actually not the biggest hater on the Niners, honestly. With the exception of Kaepernick not being my favorite NFL player. Being a Hawks fan doesn't mean I hate the Niners. I don't like the Niners very much. And when the Hawks play the Niners, I hate them. But I don't hate them. They're a good team. I'm one of those guys, when I watch the NFL, I respect good teams, with the exception of the Cowboys. I will never respect the Cowboys, especially as long as Jerry Jones is in them. No respect for the Cowboys. Other than that, if you're a good team, other than the Patriots, never been a Patriots fan. Although I'm starting to feel a little bit of sympathy for them, because they just seem like they're slipping a little bit. But I'm one of those guys who just respects good play. I've got my teams that I root for. Denver, when Peyton was in Indy, I rooted for Indy, but Seattle. But I respect good teams. Thanks for the questions, TJ. Let's find the next question. From John. Hand over the money, John. Hand it over. Do it now. Okay. Is it possible to run a large tank with only the fluidized K1 filters? If you're referring to the filters in which I have in my tanks, the answer is yes. I'm running a 135 and 275s on it right now. Eventually I'll be running this tank on it once I can get rid of the sump, because I do believe I'm going to do that eventually, as long as I find out that these filters do the job. But yeah, absolutely. As long as you have enough air flowing through the sponges, you clean them enough, and you got enough K1, and you change water enough. That's the most important thing in this whole filtration area, is no matter how well your water is filtered, you still got to take out the dirty stuff and put in some clean stuff so that your fish can breathe in the good stuff, right? Absolutely. Hand over the cash, John. Hand it over. All right. Next question. Next question. Got a question from Dan Turbo, who has honestly been one of those guys who always has a comment on every video. Shout out to Dan. Out of all the buggers that you traded or sold, which one do you miss and why? And neither of those categories amount to the fish that I miss the most, and that would be my old pair of Freddies. If you guys never saw them, I'll put an annotation or a link to the video somewhere. As a matter of fact, it'll be the random video in today's description. Click on that, you can go check them out. My La Ciba Friedrichsthal were absolutely fantastic pair of fish. Need to get me some more. I actually saw some for sale on Aquabid, and this close to getting some. But those fish were incredible. My first pair that I raised and spawned, and the female was stunning, gorgeous. A little bit of pair dispute, this and that. Male killed the female. Male was never the same. That pair of fish, a pair of La Ciba Freds, is on my very, very short list of fish that I will be keeping ASAP, honestly. Thanks for the question, Dan. This question is from Reed Smith. What is going on, Reed? The question is, do you use a dehumidifier? No, I do not. If so, what kind? Where did you get it? I do not. Anytime I feel the humidity getting up a little bit, crack a window. Eventually, if I add a bunch more tanks, probably have to get a dehumidifier. But what I've done to combat a little bit of evaporation, this stuff comes out of the tanks, is just tight-fitting lids, and the styrofoam around my tanks insulating the tanks a bit has done a really good job, and I really don't have any humidity issues at all. Used to, when I didn't have lids on my tanks, put lids on the tanks, and issues gone. Simple as that. Thank you for the question, Reed. And the last question for tonight, it would be my honor. This is from Zach Pittizotto. I think I said that right. It would be my honor if you put this in your video first. Would you like to mention you have the greatest passion in your videos? You crack me up. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Here's the question. Is it possible to run a sump without drilling holes in your aquarium? Yes. Absolutely. If you're running a glass tank, it's a lot easier. But I highly recommend, because there is DIY, the overflows that you can hang on the tanks, and they do a pretty decent job. But things like that, I'm not going to say fail a lot, but there is possibility that stuff like that fails. My best advice is to learn up and learn how to drill an aquarium, be that glass or acrylic. It's actually a very, very simple process as long as you do it correctly, have the right equipment, and there isn't fish in the tank while you're doing it. Although I believe I've done that before. Don't take my advice. Never had any issues, but it's actually, drilling your tanks is actually a pretty simple process, and I highly recommend, if you're going to run a sump, that's the way to go. The DIY route is fantastic and does have its benefits, but for the sake of safety, the safest way to run a sump, honestly, is to have your tank drilled and have that running down, because DIY aquarium overflows, are fantastic, and they have this amazing ability to run water out of your tank without having to drill a hole in it. But honestly, best way to do it would be to drill a hole. Do your research first, though. Make sure you're drilling glass. You're using the right drill bit. Make sure you're drilling acrylic. You keep it, well lubricated, and you're not burning the acrylic. But my best advice is to get the right equipment and drill your tank. Install some bulkheads. It's super easy to do, and I think in the long run, that's the best way to go. Short term, make it something simple and quick. It'd be easy. But like I said, long term, probably the best way to go would be to drill your tank. And that is going to complete however long this Q&A has been. Thank you for joining me. Again, if you've got any questions for me, cichlids9@gmail.com. And again, I always appreciate you guys joining me for videos like this. I have a great time. I might try and fit in another one here tonight, but we're not going to fit it on one video because it'll be like an hour long, and I might fall asleep in. Really? Did you think I just fell asleep? Really? 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 Really?